There you go. Got it? Good. Is it? So we're good?
And walk me through that.
So I want to thank each one of you for making the time, the effort of being here. So happy to see you here with us. I love your energy. I love your comments.
I
You-
actually thought I was on a different committee, which is
Were
why I
you?
missed the last one. I thought I was still on land use and I was like, oh, I'm logged in. And they were like, yeah, it's like, well, it doesn't matter.
Who went
I'm
out?
here now and I'm stoked.
So, right. Here ourselves a round of reintroduction, starting with you.
Hi, I'm Tracy McNeil, formerly of land use, happily on public safety, also on Parks and Cultural Affairs, also on Bylaws Task Force, which is blissfully on pause for right now. Yeah, fired up, ready to go.
Good.
Long-term Washington Heights member, born and bred. Yeah.
Fired up, ready to go. I'm Ty. I'm also on traffic and transportation. Live on 177 in Amsterdam. I moved to the neighborhood about a year and a half ago, and really interested in civic service and helping the community. And this has been great so far. So really excited for it.
Great. Jacob Annis, I'm a member of the community for 8 years now and been on this committee for what, like 3 years now. So been around the block, also fired up and ready to go as it works.
That's good. The board members, on the cloud, you want to introduce yourselves? I know Tanisha's there.
Hey everyone, Tanisha Grant, board member going on 3 years, second vice chair of the board, vice chair of the Education and Youth Committee, Youth and Education Committee on the Executive Committee. Thank y'all for being here. And Jordan, thank you for presenting.
I was gonna introduce you. Yeah, spoiler. With us from the Manhattan State. Is it Manhattan?
Good evening, everyone. Dawson Manaya, with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, Director of the Washington Heights Office.
And I know that someone from the 33rd usually uses the name Jose Jimenez, who may or may not be him. He's also with us.
Andrew Myrna.
Andrew Myrna, who is MIA for now. She should be here in a minute, I'm sure. So again, we're gonna get us started. Time is of essence. Tanisha, thank you so much for bringing this to life, to our attention, and this matter was extremely important. I read the presentation beforehand, so I couldn't really thank you enough for bringing this to our attention. Jordy, so floor is yours. Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Rosenthal. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the lead organizer of a group called Correct Crisis Intervention Today, New York City, which is a coalition, and we're going to get into that in a second. But I just wanted to set the stage a little bit about who I am so you can just know from my perspective and like my expertise where I'm speaking from. So I'm a peer, which is a person with lived experience. I have my own mental health diagnoses. I actually used to live in this district. I lived on 172nd in Fort Washington with way too many roommates. And yeah, anyway, now I do advocacy really about non-police mental health crisis response on the city level and on the state level, things about involuntary removals, which I think is also relevant to this group. And I'm happy to come at a different time and speak more so about involuntary removals and why they're problematic, which is when someone's, being a quote unquote nuisance or, there's a threat of violence or something and people are removed from subways or public spaces. But here today, I'm here to talk about how to make Be Heard, the Behavioral Health Emergency Assistance Response Division, much, much better because it kind of sucks. And it has a lot of potential. So can we go to the next slide?
As
Can you do that, Jacob, from your end? Oh, you can't, oh, you can't do it from.
Oh
here.
yeah, I don't have like,
Let
I
me
think
see.
that's making it smaller. I think just like, yeah, there you go.
I got you. I'll run your
So
side.
thank you. What is CCIT? CCIT is a coalition working to transform how New York City and a lot of us are involved in a state effort also to transform how mental health crisis calls are currently handled. And we advocate for a response that includes peers and doesn't really use police. Can we go to the next one? Okay. Also, can you zoom out a little bit? It's a little, I think,
Just looking at how best to do that.
the little negative, how it says 98.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
make it, there you go. Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. So, what is our proposal? And we'll get into more detail about this later. But basically, we want to embody best practices, which also says that the fewer people, the better, because you want to de-escalate the person. You do not want to agitate. You do not want to escalate, right? You want to calm someone down. And we believe the best way of doing that is having a peer, which is again a person who has their own mental health experience, but we also have substance use peers, criminal justice peers. There's lots of different types of peers. It's just really the idea of lived experience, right? And an EMT who is not affiliated with a city agency. These teams have to be 24/7, 365. We do not plan our crises. Crises happen at all different times. And there needs to be a coordinated response system that basically goes from soup to nuts. So not only prevention, but post, right? Like in when we're talking about involuntary removals too, it's like when the person is taken to the hospital and evaluated, has anything changed when they go back to the community, right? Like, are there any supports? Are there any ways to prevent future crises to make this person feel more stable in their community? Next slide. So, what is the current landscape? We have BHEARD, the Behavioral Health Emergency Assistance Response Division, which operates in your district, but it doesn't operate everywhere. It operates 7 days a week, 16 hours a day from, I believe, 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. I could be wrong. There's a different slide, I think, that says the exact about it. It's not full boroughs, but rather by police precincts. And it's a collaborative program that's run by multiple city agencies. And this is important for two reasons. One, if it's supposed to be a non-police response, why is NYPD so heavily involved? And two, every time there's an oversight hearing or a budget hearing, they are like that Spider-Man meme of all the Spider-Mans in a circle pointing at each other, playing the blame game of saying, oh, we're not responsible for that. That's OCMH. Oh, we're not responsible for that. That's, DOHMH. Oh, we're not responsible for that. That's NYPD. And they all blame each other, which is part of the problem. Next slide. So here are just some things that are actually pulled from the BHEARD website. And, so how does it work? Well, it's dispatched through 911. Basically, a FDNY branded vehicle will show up and you can't request it. So if anyone here ever called 911 and was like, this person's having a mental health crisis, I want a mental health team, they won't respect that. It's based on their opinion on whether or not someone should be dispatched. And that's 911 making that decision, not a mental health clinician making that decision. And that comes up later in this presentation. So it's different than a co-response or mobile crisis team because it's not supposed to show up with police and it's considered emergency service as opposed to urgent service. So urgent being that, you're having a crisis, we're going to show up in within the next 24 to 48 hours. This is supposed to be an emergency service. It responds as quickly as police or fire. So 15 minutes is too long, right? And we're really looking for 10 minutes and under in response times. You can have people over the age of 6. They say that they respond to 911 calls from schools. I don't know if that happens, to be honest. And they are not deployed in violent situations. The really key here is that we want to ensure that situations that come in as non-violent do not turn violent. And what I mean by that is there's the horrible, tragic story of Win Rosario, and that is a great example of a situation where Be Heard could have gone in instead of a police response and de-escalate the situation. But because police and people in badges and guns and, lights and overstimulation were there, ultimately, tragedy unfolded in that house. And also the suicidal part, they say that they don't respond to people who are actively suicidal, which is a little contradictory. There's not complete consensus over that, which again goes back to the pointing fingers at one another. Next slide. So last September, there was an oversight hearing. I advocated for 2 years for this hearing to happen. It required 4 different committees. And these are the key things that were pulled out from that hearing. We learned that Be Heard only operates in 31 out of the 77 police precincts, and supposedly they have created these more flexible geographic bounds. We're not really sure because they're not very transparent about many things. When we're talking about dispatch, 911 dispatchers only receive a full day, 1 full day of mental health training to make those dispatch decisions. They are relying on software and algorithms to also make these decisions, which is problematic. Okay. And then again, as it says, lastly, they follow a triage algorithm, which says like if certain things are there, they're not going to respond. It's automatically, not eligible because of that. And there are discussions of, informally from places, oh, sorry, my dog, informally where places say, we call and they know where we are or who we are and they don't send to Be Heard because they don't care. And that's another piece of this, but that's, more anecdotal. Next slide. So the audit, the comptroller came out with an audit, and these are just some data points from it. It's really quite grim and not good. And it really shows that not that the program itself is a bad idea, but the way that it's structured and currently operates is inherently flawed and doesn't it has a lot more potential if the certain changes were made. So you could see that over 60% of calls were considered ineligible because they didn't happen in the pilot's hours. Of that, another big chunk didn't respond because they were in off hours. A bunch, also 35% were deemed eligible but did not receive program services after. So what good is coming if the person isn't connected to stability services after? And the whole comptroller's report goes into detail about lots of different outcomes. And I have some more charts kind of later. Next slide. So this is basically a quick and dirty of our model versus the Be Heard pilot. And it's a lot of what we went through, but I'm going to just go to the next slide to go to really what do we want? What are we asking for? Because I know time is of the essence. So next slide. Okay. So we need peers being added to Be Heard. We need to make it 24/7, citywide, 365. And they need to produce data briefs that are consistent to actually make sure that the program is keeping up with outcomes. Now, I just want to point to the other side of this slide, which says every 3 minutes, a New Yorker reaches out to 911 for mental health assistance. And I know that this graph is quite small and the numbers aren't very large, but the image is what's important. And the image shows you that in the beginning, all the way on the left, it is all of the calls that were coming in from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. More than half of those were not eligible for Be Heard. The bottom, that big chunk, all of those not eligible. That top amount is what's eligible, and as you see it start dissipating, that really has to do with program contact. You know, did that people get connected to services? Did Be Heard even respond? It gets smaller and smaller. And a lot of this has to do with funding also. But it's very expensive to do everything that we want to do, and we're cognizant of that, and they're kind of taking it with a piecemeal approach of like you can add these by piece. So you could add peers, or you can make it 24/7, or but the idea is that you need all of these pieces to make it the most effective. And then the last slide. The last slide is really about 988 interoperability. And there was just a 988 oversight hearing last Friday, and we held a rally about this. And basically, what we're saying is 988 should be used as a dispatch system for Be Heard. And it should have interoperability with 911 and 311, meaning they should be able to send each other calls, dispatch things, but we should have people other than 911 operators deciding when, if and when these calls go out for a non-traditional response. 911 operators have so much on their plate. It's not fair to ask them to make these other big decisions for something they're not trained in doing. And this even goes into that they need to be appropriately trained and given discretion without fear of retribution, because that is a big piece of this. They are scared that if they send, they are always going to be cautious because they are scared if they send this kind of civilian-esque team and it goes sideways, that they will have their butts on the line. And then lastly, you really need to fund like 988 above and beyond to actually have this model exist. And with that, I'm open for questions.
Thank you. Again, is there any way that you can beforehand, you can leave us your contact number or contact email so that
Yeah.
and I'm sure that we're not going to be able to ask all the questions that we may have, but I'm going to open up the floor for whoever wants to go first.
I'm happy to start. So
Hi.
hi, thank you for the presentation. That was really insightful. Through 988 currently, is there a significant amount of cases that actually reach Be Heard today, or would 988
They
currently
don't
send
connect
you
at
have
all.
contact? So if somebody were to call 988, there's no route to get to Be Heard from 988. Is that
No.
correct? Okay,
Yes,
so
that's correct.
part-
Nothing connects the two.
okay, so it sounds like your proposal is that essentially 911 may receive whatever kind of calls. They would route mental health related calls to 988 for the most part. Then 988 would determine when a Be Heard team is applicable. Was that fair?
Yeah. And, you know, it's not to say that 911 can't necessarily dispatch if it goes through that either, because, like, listen, time is of the essence, right? Like, these are emergency calls, right? Like, it is time sensitive, but it's saying that there should be different routes where the call can come in and that it's not just like one size fits all. So, like, you know, how if a call comes into 311, that's an emergency that gets sent to 911, it would be the same concept. Similarly, this is not exactly related, but just so people know, 911 is actually funded through your cell phone bill. You have a tax on it that you don't realize half the time. That's like cents on the dollar. It's very small. And that actually funds 911 systems. And there's discussions in the state government about how to adequately fund 988. And that is one of the proposals about adding like a similar, basically like tax or levy to fund, you know,
Okay.
that.
And my last question there is I would imagine that interoperability between those three numbers, it makes sense. So I'm surprised it doesn't work that way today. So is there a technical barrier to why that would be expensive to implement, like you're saying with the tax? Is there, or is it a policy barrier where for some reason the, people running these services prefer that they not interconnect?
So I think it's like multiple things. 988 is like a federal initiative, right? So like part of why there was an oversight hearing and like the complication is because like so like there used to be like this you could press 3 when you called 988 and you could get an LGBTQIA like service, and that no longer exists. So like part of this hearing that happened, they were like, we gave you $5 million to like the city, and they're like, what are you gonna do to like, restore that, right? Or like come up with some type of alternative. So there's multiple layers. It's not just like because there's so many layers of government to it, it may require like alternate planning where part of it is like so 988 is also the contract is different in every state. We are
Right.
run by Vibrant Emotional Health in New York, but like who runs California, like I don't know, right? So that's a whole other piece. But 988 is the same number as NYC Well. So if you called NYC Well, you would be receiving the same like person you would be connected with via 988. It is by locale. So I don't know if that exactly answers your question or complicates it more, but I think my point is like it is very complicated because there's a lot of intergovernmental layers to it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Anyone else? Sabu.
I have a question
One
for
quick question.
Jordan. Thanks, Jordan, for this. I was wondering, have you had any support from elected officials in the last couple of years? If so, do you mind sharing them, and what has the support looked like?
Yeah. So, shout out to the Progressive Caucus and everyone in the Progressive Caucus, specifically Sandy Nurse, and Tiffany Caban have been some of our biggest champions. So we actually got $4.5 million in the city budget, but it came in through discretionary funds through the Speaker's Initiative. And what we were lobbying for was 4.5 million for peer specialists to be added to be heard. But OCMH, the Office of Community Mental Health, was like, we don't want that money. We're not going to do that. And what we were lobbying for isn't exactly what the Progressive Caucus adopted. And it ended up becoming this vague language that went through the budget and did get funded, where now there was this 4.5 million line for peer services for the crisis continuum. So, like, we tried through the budget and kind of failed, but we did add to the continuum, which is good. So now we're left at the point of like, we think we're going to have to go down the legislative route. But the other piece of this is that Mamdani is actually really supportive of having peers in Be Heard teams. So we might not need to, depending on the change of administration. It really like I think that everyone in mental health right now in New York, well, everyone in every part of government is kind of like, oh God, what's going to happen tomorrow? But we're not really sure, right? Because there's so many different layers to it. It's like, if Mamdani wins and adds all like wants to have this Department of Community Safety or whatever it's called exactly, and adds peers and does these like outreach teams. There are still efforts on the state level to expand AOT and Kendra's Law. There's still efforts by Brian Steddon, our senior advisor of mental illness in the current administration, to expand that program for people with substance use disorder. And I say all of this because it's going to create turmoil in getting people connected to care when there's these looming threats that you could be thrown against your will into these services by contact with systems.
And based on, and I'm gonna leave it there because I know Jocelyn's got a hard stop very soon, so
From the public,
where?
Mike F.
Okay, let him ask.
Hi, Mike, go ahead.
Hi, guys. Good evening. Everything she said was basically on point. I actually am a victim of being involuntarily removed, where there was a false call made to 911 saying I wanted to commit suicide, do suicidal ideation, which it wasn't true. And I woke up right after it was my mom's funeral service. Within hours after that, I woke up to like 9 police officers at my door, riot shields. It was ridiculous. And they spoke with me for a while, and then EMS just came and was like, yeah, we're taking him. And the cop was like, he was fine, he was just asleep. And I wound up being held, right after my mom's service for like 9 hours. And it was embarrassing. I had to go through that whole process. And it really did a lot for me, good and bad, because the bad part is, I'm suffering now from PTSD. It's a whole array of feelings and stuff. But the good part is I was able to see how flawed the mental health system is. Like with 988, I don't really care for them that much because I feel like they're there just to take statistics, and that's it. Like you'll be on the phone with them for at least 20 minutes before you tell them what your problem is, because they want to know if you do drugs, how much drugs you do, how much liquor do you drink. And I'm like, I don't do any of that. I just want to speak to somebody. And so that's like a big issue that I find within the system. And then there's no real place to go to get answers from, because nobody really knows anything. Like I was able to get a meeting with I forgot what her name was. She was chair of the board of mental health, and she was a
Linda
senator
Lee.
before her.
This
This is like 2000. This is like 2021
Okay.
that this happened. And I said, hey, how are they able to do this? How are they able to go through this without me showing any signs of being, out of my wits? Oh, I don't know, but you're the person who writes these legislations and puts them to be passed. So how can't you answer these questions? So I think there needs to be more relatable people like peers, and more people who've been through things and can actually give the proper answers, because staying on the phone with somebody 20 minutes, find out if they're taking drugs or not, and how much they can go off themselves if they, they need specifics to their issue that they're going through in life, and just make it more consistent around the board. But yeah, that's all I had to say.
Hearing that, Mike.
Take a
Thank
stab
you.
at it.
Thank
Want to
you.
answer that, or thank you, Mike, or
I just was saying thank you, Mike. I agree with everything that he was saying, and I would just say, Mike, please reach out to me separately. We can talk offline.
Will do. Thank you, guys.
all right, Tanisha, you had your hand up, and then
Hey,
Tanisha.
thank you so much, Jordan. This is a big issue for us, especially up here. So, is there any data on how many calls 988 answers in Washington Heights? Because I have called before for someone who was having a mental health breakdown, and they sent 10 cops. So, I know that even if the service is provided in the 33rd and the 34th, that it is very limited. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I just want to clarify two things. So I think you're talking about so like 988 would be like a emotional support to call, like if you are feeling suicidal or something like that, and like we would, ideally want that to have dispatch. What you're discussing is Be Heard, right? Like the actual response. And the problem there, and what we were talking about before, is there's not enough teams and not enough funding, and it doesn't run 24/7. So because there's such limited resources, we need to properly invest in the program. And when you look at the comptroller's report and you see the really, atrocious data, it's not that the idea on its premise is bad or wrong or like an inappropriate response. It's that, pardon my French, but it's half-assed, right? It's like, oh, you need reconstructive surgery, but we're gonna give you 3 band-aids, but they're like really good band-aids, so don't worry, right? Like that's kind of what's happening. And we need like a full investment to have more teams. And I think, I can't speak for the whole coalition, but can say as Jordan Rosenthal, my sole person, I would be okay with teams that are 2 people, that maybe some are a social worker and EMT and some are peers in an EMT, but I know my colleagues would probably say only peers. So probably only peers and EMTs. But point being is like this is a crisis and we need people to respond and we need staffing.
I want to leave some room for Tracy, and then
So I see the proposal, but it sounds like there was a significant number of cases that Be Heard was able to address. Do you have any data about the outcomes of those when Be Heard goes out? That are there on average X number less hospitalizations or feedback saying that people felt better about that interaction, or like I see the need. I see the disparity, but what I don't see here is any statistics or documentation about how beneficial the existing program has been. So do you have any of those stats that you can
There's
share? with us?
some. There's a little bit on OCMH's website, which, or like if you go to Be Heard's website, which I just want to clarify, I am not from OCMH, right? The Office of Community Mental Health is who administers this program. They are the ones responsible for the data, and they are not doing that. I am an advocate, and I convene advocates, and we put pressure on the city and OCMH to collect that data and be held accountable for it. And exactly what you're talking about is half of the problem. So part of me saying like we need consistent data is like like for instance, they would put up data so infrequently and then take down the old data briefs so you can do a longitudinal analysis that I was saving the data briefs, and I don't want to say threatened, but I was like joking. I was like, I'll put them up. Like you take them down, I'll put them on our website. And I did. And then one day, all of them came back, right? Like they don't want to see the longitudinal because they're not investing in it to make it actually like be successful. And I would say the best data to look at would really be the comptroller's report.
So I guess I'm so sorry that I guess
That's okay.
No, the point of my question must have been unclear. It seems like you're an advocate trying to get more funds and usage of Be Heard. But I'm sort of saying, as a community board member, even if I wanted to support this, I don't have whatever the things you were able to get from the city. That might be helpful to put in this presentation to be persuasive to other community boards. So that's sort of what I'm saying is that I hear what you're saying, but I don't, if you have it, because it sounds like you do, because you were going to put it up on your website, that might be helpful for this presentation. Food for thought.
Totally. Completely fair. I would say I'm gonna keep on looking at it like, there are different pieces. It's also like I would just never mind. We can talk offline. Also, if you have other feedback, I don't want to take up too much time because part of it is like, how do you fit in all of these problems when you have like a 20-minute slot?
Yeah, and two things before I let you go. Probably gonna have to have a conversation offline. One is the data that you mentioned. So I was gonna mention that one, and that's
I
number
would
two.
also say lived experience experts. Let's invite some people because people are the data, like me, who also suffers from mental health issues. And I can tell you from my personal experience, when they have sent the cops, it has been traumatic. When I have sent someone who I can talk to, who other community members can talk to, because remember, Tracy, I'm out here every day. So
No, I'm like,
no,
want
I'm
some
just
quotes,
trying to
I
answer
want
your
some
question. No,
stats.
I get you. I get you. But we also have to understand that the data is real people. And Jordan, me, and others are the real people. So along with the data that the institution is not providing, we could also get you some lived experience experts to tell you their stories as well, which is better than
Yes.
experts.
And
And I would
continue on.
say really quickly that like half of the problem that Tanisha was kind of etching at before is because the program is so underfunded, there are so few people who actually get that response. So trying to connect with people who actually had a Be Heard response has been really difficult. So if you know anyone, like I'd be happy to be connected.
And then number two would be the technology interchange between 911, 311, and 988. I think that's critical. And also, something that kind of like caught my eye was the fact that when you look at the proposal, it says that a team would only consist of one peer trained and a crisis counselor and one EMT person. That's little. That's like you're not gonna cover most bases with so little staff. So within your proposal, I didn't see anything that you advocating for, like the meat of it, as far as asking
So-
for more. So,
Yeah, we actually want fewer people, and it's more that like there would be lots of teams of those like of those like pairs, right? So it'd be more of those pairs. But we found and best practice, and there's this model called Cahoots, which is based out of Oregon, where when there's more people, it tends to escalate the situation. So, like for instance, like the sounds, the lights, the sirens, right, or seeing a gun or any of these things may escalate a situation. And then the more people talking, maybe like you're already hearing voices and now you have like three different people talking to you that came out of nowhere, who are in your living room, and that might be overwhelming also. Whereas someone who's a peer, which is really the emphasis piece, right? The EMT is there for like medical necessity. It's the peer who could say like, oh, I've heard voices and I know what that feels like, and would be able to connect with the person in crisis. And part of this also is a workforce development piece, because it's not that this training or that these people exist in the current capacity, right? We would need to have health and hospitals amp up their training, and what really they do for social workers, have it be extended to peers. Because what we're saying, and like for, just clarity or transparency, like I have an MSW, I'm a social worker. I don't Not only do I not want to be, I am not equipped to be the person de-escalating the crisis, right? It is more about the lived experience and the willingness to learn those skills than the expertise of like, oh, I have an MSW, right? Even having a licensed master social worker, it's not the same amount of it doesn't hit in the same way, right? And I'll just give a really quick story to tie it together. With the AOT piece, there's been this expansion of Kendra's law that if people aren't taking care of their basic needs, they can be brought in for a psych eval, even if they're like exhibiting, mental health, and then also not taking care of their basic needs, like smelling of urine or feces. I know a woman who smelled like that. And she did it as a means of self-protection. She thought the dirtier, smellier I am, the less likely I'll be assaulted as I sleep. And the reason why this connects to all of this is because every time she had to tell that story to a social worker or someone who didn't look like her or a different caseworker that changed, that was trauma. That was reopening that wound, right? Whereas if you have a peer or someone who has walked in those shoes or knows what it's like, they don't have to have that discussion, because that's already something that they understand. That's in the back of their mind, that they can connect with that person. So instead of, being like, oh, maybe fixating or highlighting that part, they'd be able to connect and be like, hey, have you been able to sleep well? Have you been like worried about your safety when you're sleeping? Oh, so you haven't slept in 4 days. That can make sense why you feel a little, agitated, right? This is a different, it's not that social workers can't do this. It's just a different perspective that we believe is more effective in connecting with individuals in crisis.
thank you. It's been a good 40 minutes of your time. It's been extremely helpful, open up a lot of minds and eyes, and anything that we can do on our end, please share your contact with us, because I'm sure that I'll be emailing you back, because I'm really, really interested in the
Please
topic.
do.
It really does affect me firsthand. So I'm an advocate. So Jocelyn, I know you have to leave. You have to stop at 7:30. So
Yes, but I was enthralled by the conversation.
weren't you? Yeah, you really got our attention.
So thank you, Jordan and Tanisha and Tracy for all your wonderful.
Tanisha.
So I just wanted to bring a few updates from the DA's office. The first one I wanted to speak about, is the current case that we have where a woman was charged, in a triple murder, fentanyl drugging, robbery pattern.
Right.
And I'm sure that hopefully, you heard of what happened. For me, this really stands out because of the drug fentanyl. I think that so many people in our community, especially our kids, really don't realize the dangers of this drug. I mean, the amount of a grain of salt of sand is enough to kill a grown man. So this person, you know, her callous behavior allegedly led to the death of three men, and there were four victims in total. One of them actually survived. Her end result was really to rob these people of their belongings. But you know, it spanned a year and a half almost, and you know, through the good work of the 30th precinct, actually detective squad, they were able to tie one of the crimes that occurred in their precinct to two that occurred here in the 33rd precinct. So I'll be following this case just to bring updates on what is going on, but you know, I'm glad that she is off the streets and won't be able to harm anyone else, you know, through these drugs. And by chance, these men did not know that they were doing fentanyl. They were under the impression they were doing cocaine, which is, you know, in and of itself an issue, but the fact that it was laced with fentanyl is what did them in. So I wanted to, you know, bring this case to the forefront to the committee today. And then, you know, in the same vein, in the last meeting, we were also talking about mental health and the criminal justice system and how people get arrested and are released, you know, right away, and they're back out on the street, unfortunately, without the support that they needed. And I didn't want to mention it then because I wanted to do a little more research to see where we were, but for quite a few months now, since early this year, we've been talking about our support, or the DA has been talking about the office support for the Support Act. And it's a bill that we are wholeheartedly supporting and pushing. And it's an act to amend the criminal procedural law in relations to cases that are terminated due to mental disease or defect. So if I get arrested for a misdemeanor and I am 730 or found unfit to you know, to proceed, then I'll go to a hospital for a day or two, and then the hospital says that, you know, she's fine, she's not a danger to herself or others, and they set me out on the street again, and the case is done. So there's no more case, and I am back out and did not get the help that I needed. So the purpose or the general idea of the bill is to ensure that people that are arrested for non-felonies and are found unfit are connected with services and resources for their long-term stability before their release. So it would be a mandate. And basically, the assignment of a critical time intervention care management team, or a CTI, you know, and then the referral to an agency overseeing the single point of access, or what they call a SPOA, local to the defendant's last place of residence. So all these things would be put in place before someone is actually discharged from a hospital. And you would think this is common sense, like it's not, no, we're not reinventing, you know, electricity or anything like that. Like people that have mental health issues and are reoffending or being put through the revolving door of the criminal justice system and are not getting help are going to keep getting arrested and are going to keep, you know, committing crimes because they did not get the support they need. So it has passed both houses. It's sitting, you know, in the governor's office now, it's, you know, and we're just waiting for her to sign it into law. So to the extent that we as a community can help push that and help support the Support Act, I just think it would be beneficial to everyone. None of us want to see, you know, people out on the street, sleeping on the street, or you know, people that look to be in mental health crisis. And, you know, and these are people that can be connected to services, should be connected to services, rather than just being siphoned through the system and, you know, and nothing comes of it. So I just wanted to bring you an update on that, and also, you know, just make sure that the community knows they can do something, they can implore the governor to sign this, and hopefully if she does, or when she does, I'm hoping personally that we can see some relief come to those that really need it, out in our community. And as we discussed in the last meeting, there are many people in our community that need this help and this support. And then finally, October 1st, we are Domestic Violence Awareness Month ready. Friday, we just completed the 25th Annual Brides March Against Domestic Violence. It was, as usual, a very wonderful and cathartic community event. And I'm always proud to be a part of that movement. And we, on October 22nd, will be having our Shine the Light event. I'll pass these over. This is our 9th year doing the Shine the Light event here in Washington Heights and Inwood. The community board has always been a great source of support for this event. And I thought that this year, we will continue the tradition, and come out as a community to raise awareness. And we will start as usual on 175th Street and Broadway, in front of United Palace, and we are going to march over here to 166th Street, and we're gonna congregate in the park. Wear purple, get ready to chant. And the idea is when community passes by and sees all of us there, making noise and being together, in community, that people will stop by and say, hey, what's going on here? And it'll be an opportunity to pull people into the conversation as well as walk out, with some resources. So I'm hoping to see all of you there, joining us on Wednesday, October the 22nd for our 9th annual Shine the Light event. And that is all that I have
It's quite a lot,
today.
quite a lot.
Mhm.
Love it. Yes. Any questions?
One question, is the DA looking for high school interns at the moment, or is that like coming later?
We always look for a high school intern, so that starts in January when we'll get the application information out. So yes, every year we do the high school internship.
What
Or the
ages,
summer.
if you don't mind me asking?
They just have to be a rising senior or junior, so it doesn't matter what age you are. You just have to be rising. You can't have graduated because then you'll be a college and students, and you can do an internship as a college student. So it's for high school students. The only prereq is that they either go to school or live in Manhattan.
Could you talk about the nature of the care that would be provided under the Support Act by the team that's assigned? So just some examples would be helpful for me to know, like, logistically, specifically, what does that look like? Where is the person being kept while this is happening, and what specific services are being
So the idea is not necessarily to keep someone, but more like connect them, make sure they're connected to these mandatory services. So there would have to be, an audit of all agencies that do this and make sure that this person is connected. And like I said before, ideally where they are, their last place of residence, or where that they always are. Most people tend to stay in one area close to home for the most part, and make sure they're connected in that way. But the critical time intervention care management team would be assigned through the courts. So whatever that agency is, that would be I guess on call that day, you could say, for lack of a better word. But there's not one specific agency, so it's a part of a care team. And part of the single point of access is a whole slew of agencies throughout, for us, Manhattan, because we primarily oversee Manhattan. But if the person lives in the Bronx, right, whatever was there, or Brooklyn or Queens, so it'd be a whole list of agencies where people can tap into and put that team in place, ready to go before this person leaves the hospital. And I am assuming and hoping, like was Jordan mentioned and Tanisha, it would be people that hopefully have lived experiences, like when I've talked about our neighborhood navigators, which are people with lived experience in being homeless and or substance issues with substance abuse. These are the people that can speak to someone that's going through this crisis and can better say, hey, I was there, and this is what I'm doing now, and this is how I got here, and try and create that trust. with the individual, that they try and connect to. So I don't think it'd be one specific place or one specific agency, but it'd be somewhere close to, so they don't lose contact with this person.
Will there be a set of criteria for especially, a person that's in a hospital that has mental health issues? That this bill would help them voluntarily accept treatment. In the event that the person who's mentally unstable decides not to, and then how does that work?
Law enforcement angle piece, this is what I was reporting. So the idea is, you're coming through the system instead of just being the case going away because you found, to have a mental disease or defect. It can't just go away, like the hospital can't just wash their hands of you
I see.
and fit you out, like you have to be connected to somebody. Even if the case dies, because we don't want a case to live, if what this person has is an underlying condition, like that makes no
So
sense.
the hospital can just
No,
wash
not the
their hands.
hospital, not us, not the city, no one. These people have to be connected, and that's the beauty of this bill. Like, we're not looking to convict anyone, we're not looking to move a case forward. What we're looking for is to make sure people are connected to the services that they need. Because we're not going to police or prosecute our way out of these issues that we have as a community with people that have underlying mental health disease or defect. We're just not gonna do it. I've been in the DA's office for many years, and I've seen names come across my desk that I've been seeing since I started in the DA's office 25 years ago. I'm like, how is this possible that this person still has not been connected to the right services? And they can get arrested 50, 60, 100 times and maybe do 2 weeks max. And then they're right back out without any assistance to what the real underlying issue is. And that's sad. It's a waste of resources. And it's a shame that we let human beings live all these years in this manner. It's a shame.
So my own interpretation of it is that it makes city agencies really get more involved into, because you say connected, but connected is just A, B, C, and D, just knowing, but it makes us all say,
Responsible.
now we're accountable for, I love.
Yeah.
I really like it.
Let's push for the governor to sign this.
Let's do what we gotta do. Let's do what we have to do on our end.
And would the DA's office be able to hold the agencies accountable for actually following through? Because the last thing, we wouldn't want the connection to be made and then the box is checked and everyone moves on, so.
Right, so it would be whoever oversees like the whole thing,
Mhm.
but yes.
Yeah.
We do audits all the time reviewing, this person has been before us 270 times. And what's going on, where's the lapse? So they'd be mandated to make sure that this is part of the process that they are doing. Everyone's doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
Is it gonna be fail-proof? Probably not. We're gonna learn as we go, right?
Just
But
steps, everything
let's-
steps in the
but
right
let's-
direction. Yeah,
right
yeah.
now, it's not being done.
That's right. Yeah.
Let's try it.
Yeah, it's gonna be a total success with time. Yeah, love it. So, thank you, Jocelyn. I'm so happy to have you in person, right? So you do your best when you're here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who do we have? 33 and 34 or just the 33?
I'm not even sure. Can't really
I know
tell.
Jimenez
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah, we have a representative from the 3-3.
3-3.
3-4 is here as well.
Oh, okay, nice. So, we're gonna start with the 33. Can you share your name with us?
It's Lieutenant Vincent Caprino.
Hey, Lieutenant. You said Lieutenant, right?
Yes, sir.
We all ears. Let's get it going.
All right. Well, I don't want to keep everybody forever here, so I'll give you the 28-day breakdown and the year-to-date breakdown just on things that we're seeing a spike in. So for the 28-day period, we have seen a slight increase in robberies, an increase in felony assaults, and an increase in auto theft as well. 33% though of our felony assaults for the 28-day period have been domestic violence related, which is concerning. For the year though, for the year to date, we're actually up in rape. I'm not trying to downplay rape or anything, but they've changed a lot of the sex crime classifications with the governor's bill. That rape is rape. So things that used to be classified as other sexual offenses are now being classified as rapes, as major crimes. So we are seeing an uptick in that. For the year as well, we have an increase in felony assaults, about 10% increase. And the other biggest increase that we have for the year has been auto theft. And auto theft has been a real problem for the precinct this year. In some sort of crime prevention strategy, what we're encouraging people to, I'm actually trying to see if we can secure funding to get AirTags, Apple AirTags, and to place them in certain vehicles. People, especially who own Honda CRVs and Hondas in general, and we're seeing Toyota Highlanders are now a big target for auto thieves to be taking these Toyota Highlanders as well. If we're hoping that if we can get some funding from, I have to make another phone call to the Deputy Commissioner of Management and Budget and see if there is some sort of funding so we can at least have an event where we can give out these AirTags to owners of vehicles. The other issue that we do have with vehicle theft is, other than it's gotten very high tech, it's not like it was in the 90s where people are breaking, smashing car windows and hot wiring the car, putting a screwdriver into the ignition and all that. It's gotten very, very high tech, and it's very difficult to catch these people even after they steal the car, just because we have to we have to make sure that we're keeping the public safe, and we don't want to chase after somebody and then that person hits an innocent person who's sitting on the sidewalk, because the guys who are committing crime, they do not care about the general safety of the people around them. They just want to get away. The other thing we're asking people though too is, we do see these complaints from a decent amount of times. I don't have it exactly in front of me right now for the 28-day period, but I know for a fact that during the year, we have taken vehicle thefts where people have left the keys in the vehicle and the ignition on. And I know we want to go into the bodega real quick. We want to grab milk. We got to grab eggs. We got to do what we got to do. And we want to come in and out. But at very quick time that you do that, and then 1 or 2 minutes that you're inside, that car is left running and unattended, and that car will be taken. So please, please, please take your keys, shut the vehicle off, and tend to the business that you got to tend to, but don't leave the car running. Other than that, I think the command overall has a slight increase in crime this year. With a 3% increase. We still have the rest of the year to try to win the rest of the year, but we are battling very low numbers because last year we had a great year. And the one thing I can tout is the 33rd precinct has not taken a homicide at all this year. So, kudos to the guys out there, and everyone's doing a really good job. And domestic violence wise, for major crimes with domestic violence, we're actually down for the year. But like I said, for 33% of our felony assaults to be domestic related, I think that's a little concerning. That's pretty much it. Arrests are up for the 28-day period, and arrests are also up for the year to date. Arrests are almost up 20% for the year to date, and 16% for the 28-day period. And the last thing I would like to tell you, because of the robberies, we still have some of these guys on mopeds. They're still riding around. Please be aware of your surroundings. A lot of our robberies are happening between 6 and 9 p.m. during this period, 6 and 9 p.m. And then we're seeing later on at night, 10 to 11 o'clock at night as well. And they're, like I said, they're mostly out, almost all of them, I would say, they're, in public. We do have some of the shoplifting on rungs that become robberies, but for the most part, we're seeing a lot of these. They're in view of the public. So just please be aware when you're out there. Don't get so sucked into your cell phones as well when you're out there. I could take some questions if anybody has any questions about the 33rd precinct.
My one question is with the auto theft.
Yeah.
What sort of methods does the precinct have for getting the word out to owners of these specific vehicles that this risk has been elevated?
Good question. So what we've actually started to do, we're actually printing out flyers and actually putting them on the vehicles that we're seeing that are being stolen at a higher
Yeah.
rate than other vehicles. And I am gonna, like I said, I am really gonna try to secure some sort of funding so we can get these air tags. I know not that much money, especially ones that they have some other ones that are not Apple branded, but you could still be able to track them, and maybe even and to put them in the vehicle where they're not easily seen. Because the one thing we've seen is when people have had the AirTags, the guys that are stealing the car, they're looking in the obvious spots to see if they can see the AirTag and then throwing it out. So we are going to try to do some sort of outreach to kind of get to let people know, like, hey, listen, like, your vehicle. And it's a shame because these are some of these. First of all, it's working people. You guys you work hard for what you have, and you need these cars for work and for other things, and for people to be losing their Honda CR-V or Toyota Highlander just because they just happen to like that car, and then these guys like it too, and they're taking it is not right. So we're going to try to do some sort of outreach to at least let people know. And what we'll do sometimes as well to answer about some of this prevention is, like, educating the public, is if we do see a car running that's idling with nobody in it, and then we see that the keys are in there, half the time we'll actually go in, we'll turn the car off and wait for people to come out and be like, hey, listen, you're lucky I was sitting here. If it wasn't for me, this car would have been taken.
Yeah.
We try not to summon. There actually is, believe it or not, there is a summons for that, but we try not to summons people. It's more of an educational thing instead of summonsing people, and now they're being punished for it. I rather, we try to make it a learning experience. But yeah, that's one of the things we're trying to do and trying to make people aware of the issues that are going on. But we have actually made a couple of arrests for people within stolen cars, stealing some cars. It's just a matter of catching them sometimes, and it is, I'll be honest, sometimes you got to be lucky. And I'd rather be lucky than good. So, but the guys are there, so we're trying to trying to prevent it, and we're trying to catch the guys doing it.
Okay, and sorry, one more thing on the felony assault. Do you have any sort of information about the trend? So it sounds like the domestic violence incidents are essentially causing the overall.
Yeah, it's mostly
read on what's happening.
Yeah, it's mostly, it's definitely mostly domestic related. We see there's the 9 of the incidents that we've seen for the period itself have been domestic related. We have some other ones. There's some other things that do get classified as felony assault. Like, obviously, if there's an assault on a cop, that's a felony assault, and we're taking that number, which has happened. Actually, we had guys from the 34th precinct transporting a prisoner to the hospital, and he then assaulted the cops that were actually trying to get him to the hospital. And then we also have some other domestic incidents. It's not as you don't see them as much, but age can be a factor too. So if I'm let's say 50 years old and I punch a 66-year-old man in the face, that's a felony assault, even though it's not with a weapon, and it's not serious physical injury. Just the age makes that a felony assault. But we've seen some of these have also been stabbing slashing incidents where I don't have the breakdown of how many, like, the person's known the person, if the perpetrator is known to him, but we've had about almost a quarter of those incidents were stabbing slashing incidents. But like I said, 9 of them are actually domestic related, and they tend to happen late. These have been happening late at night. So this is we'll see it at especially after people go out, they hang out, they have a couple of drinks. That's happened because a lot of them, 3 of them have happened between 11 and midnight, and there are 3 of them happen between 3 and 4 in the morning. That's pretty. And then I will say this though, of the 27 felony assaults we've taken for the period, 15 have actually been closed out to arrest. So, both for the most part, we're actually apprehending the perpetrators of the crime.
Yeah. One last question.
Sure.
Our youngest board member. He had a question, right?
No, he was watching Spidey and his amazing friends.
Oh, okay.
His mother has a question.
Sure.
I'm very pleased to hear that overall more intensive crime has gone down. What are you hearing from the various neighborhood associations about quality of life issues that are going on in the neighborhood? Are they reporting to you if there are any more trends or anything? Because that's sort of what's going to affect most people in their day-to-day
Sure.
existence.
So I think we I don't know if you guys went to the community council meeting. I think it was last week. It's the last Thursday in September. Um, the department's changed its model a little bit. We've gone away from the neighborhood coordination officers. Now call them quality life teams, Q teams. It's basically old wine, new bottle, new branding, calling it something else. I at the meeting, I've encouraged people, if you know those NCOs, they're part of the Q team now. So if you're seeing something, noise related, I know double parking is an issue as well in the precinct, but we see mostly it's noise and parking conditions. I think the noise, we've done a pretty good job. We've actually summoned people for excessive noise, for blasting music. We've actually confiscated speakers. People have they've been receptive to it. There's been other times where we've had 311 calls and complaints about noise, and it turned out the person actually had a sound permit, and we've had to kind of mediate that, because people are complaining. They might feel like it's loud even though they have a permit. We try to kind of mediate it and try to find a middle ground. But the quality of life issues are still, we're still seeing noise being a big factor. I suspect it's going to go down a little bit. We're getting into the colder months, and you're not going to have as many people hanging out.
And for those things, regular Washington Heights residents should just call 311 for.
Yeah, you could, if you can call 301, you can call 301. Please, I'm asking people to leave callbacks. If you don't want to give your name, that's fine. But at least if we can get a phone number, because sometimes you guys might be seeing something that we're not, or you notice a trend that we're not exactly seeing. That actually helps. That can help us actually try to prevent the problem before it starts. Because anonymous calls, like, yeah, you don't leave a callback number. We're like, all right. And it actually happens sometimes with parking, because people will just call 301 and they'll be like, yeah, gray sedan. And that's what they'll put. And then we're looking at the block. We're like, all right, we're looking at this like 9 gray sedans. And then we're going up and down the block to see, like, all right, well, what's illegal? Is it an expired registration? Is it they're on a hydrant, they're blocking a crosswalk, and we're looking at all these gray sedans. So sometimes, like I said, a callback does help. And if you do have NCOs that that you have their information still, you have their emails or their phone numbers, I still tell you to reach out to them when you can.
Thank you. One last question before we move on to the 34th precinct question. In the chat, I'm gonna ask mine first.
Yes.
Have you guys been able to map out like the highest concentration of auto crime? And if so, have you determined like what causes it? Is it lack of street lighting? Is it because there's more isolated?
So there's times where
wait a second, I'm not finished yet. And if you do, then have you contacted any other city agencies that probably try and resolve those issues?
Well, we have to try to get better lighting really on, like, let's say like the Speedway, like 155th, where you're going down towards the Harlem River Drive. Because if you guys have been down there, it's very, very dark. You'll have cars get stolen from there. You also have auto break-ins as well. And the reason why some of these people are breaking into vehicles is if you're leaving certain valuables out. There was one on Edgecombe Avenue towards the park side. It's a little bit darker, right? When you have obviously the apartment buildings and some of the street lights are on the other side near the sidewalk, it's a little bit more lit up. They're not as likely to break in because there are, test cameras in the building. But when you're on that park side, especially going near like 163, it's very dark and people have left. I remember being out there for one complaint where a guy said, well, my sister left her school laptop out there. And I'm like, well, it's like, I'm not excusing it, but I'm like, that somebody who's walking by and they're looking to steal and they see that, they're like, all right, perfect. I'm taking this and I'm selling it. So we see a lot of those in those kind of areas. The Riverside Drive is another one, the lower end of Riverside Drive, because there is lighting kind of intermittently, but there's like a whole area where it is very dark. You also have like the tree coverage as well. So if there is lights, they could be covered by like the trees in the area because it is a park. So we see a lot of that, like really to like West 165 and Riverside Drive, all the way down to even 155 on Riverside, and the Speedway as well, which is 155th going towards the Harlem River Drive. Those are like the main areas where you'll see a lot of these like car breakers or even vehicle theft in general. And I have my theories on how they're selecting these vehicles and how they're getting so successful. I'm trying to put that theory to the test. If I can get one of these guys doing it live instead of after the fact, it would be good. Because like I said, it is tough even when you catch them doing it live. If they speed off, I'm more likely when I'm out there and I could see like the way they're driving, I call off any pursuit because I don't want someone in the public getting hurt. Because I understand, I'm not saying I don't care about your property. I'm not saying I don't care about you. I want to catch the guy as badly as you guys want to, but I have to weigh the risks of the public. God forbid this person's driving crazy and they pass 3 red lights and they hit like a mother with her 3 kids taking them home from practice. Or like, grandma walking across the street after she went out to grab to grab food or whatever, and going back to her apartment. Like that's the last thing I want is some innocent person being hurt, or worse, or you possibly killed. So we try to balance the risk reward, time and date and all that, and where we're at. So
Thank you
no problem.
very
Anybody
much.
else?
Appreciate your effort, your
Yeah.
patience, and answer as many questions as you possibly
We
can.
have one in the chat. But before that, I wanted to give a recommendation on the awareness of the recent car theft incident. I know you guys are on social media. The 33rd Precinct has X, formerly known as Twitter account. I was just going to recommend if that could be shared through there, or make a video regarding that. I think that would be helpful. Specifically, usually individuals who own these cars tends to be of a certain age demographic. So I think reaching your audience or people who are more vulnerable to that kind of crime, reaching them, meeting them where they're at. So maybe your communication style, whether it's different social media platforms, that can be helpful. And that's just a friendly tip. And then in regards to the Apple AirTags,
Sure.
Apple AirTags are detectable by Apple products, Apple phones. So I was just gonna recommend if you're going to invest into giving these into the community, maybe a tracking device that's not detectable by other devices.
So yeah, I was gonna say there's another. It's not Apple. It's another like brand. It's like I said, it's not Apple. It's another like kind of AirTag. I think they're actually cheaper too. They work just as well. But yeah, no, that's another good. Well, and like I said, I want to look into it because I think it would be worthwhile. Again, like it's a good. God forbid the vehicle is stolen, especially if you have if you could track it, we can at least know where it's going. Because we could put in measures in place to try to stop the flow of traffic and then maybe actually catch the person. So no, but I like the Twitter suggestion a lot because if people are like retweeting it, it's going out to more people, or if they share it, they see it and they can share it. I think that the more eyes that see it, the better.
Right.
And then
Last question.
we got a question here from Joseph Sanchez asking about if you have any stats on school fights or crime within schools.
I don't have the youth stats in front of me at this moment, but if he wants to check in with the youth officers, it's Officer Gonzalez and Officer Farley. Officer Farley, unfortunately, is out. She actually broke her foot, but Officer Gonzalez is in it. Her name is Angelica. Officer Angelica Gonzalez. So they have they deal with our youth issues and on our school issues, and they would have the answer. I don't want to speculate on something and give you wrong statistics.
All right, sweet. Could that be incorporated moving forward? Any youth statistics or like
youth crime and yeah, sure, I could put that in there.
Yes, thank you.
No
All
problem.
right. Thank you very much. Thank you. 34.
Hi, I'm Officer Peralta from 34 Community Affairs.
Welcome.
So, for the 34, we went up in robberies and grand larceny, thefts, autos thefts, and just a slight increase in felony assaults. And we did receive a homicide this year. We were down in burglaries, but recently we had about 3 burglaries, all on Bennett Avenue. And for some of these crimes, we did make multiple arrests. We've been having multiple gun arrests as well. And yeah,
Exciting.
yeah.
So about our stats, do you have them in front of you? What are we up in the last 28 days? Are we?
Yeah, so in the 28-day period, we're up a lot in robberies. And the GLA, the grand larceny, auto thefts. Like the 3-3 said, that could be whether if you have a Honda or a Kia, you know, these guys know how to get into it and, you know, just drive it off. And we never know where they leave the cars or anything. And also they are stealing mopeds, which we recently arrested a juvenile for driving a stolen moped. And for the robberies, they're stealing chains and phones, you know, on mopeds. And yeah, we do know who you know, some of these people are. So what I recommend, and you know, we are out there looking for them if they are within the confines of the 34 precinct. And I do recommend for people to, when they're walking out in the street, to, you know, keep their chain inside of their shirts, and because that's mostly what they're going for is jewelry, and they're on mopeds, so they're doing it really fast and then just flying away. And so that's part of the biggest part in the 3-4. And the burglaries, I also have to say, you know, we are advising people to lock their windows and make sure their doors are locked, because from what we saw, people tried to come in through the fire escape and go inside somebody's window, if they see that they're not home, with the burglaries. And so we haven't made an arrest on that yet. We're looking more into it. And there's a lot of like, we see that there's a lot of people like that they're, how do I say, they're being set up, whether they're elderly and stuff. We just had a robbery of a 99-year-old man. He was working in his office in his basement, and a guy just came to set him up and took a whole bunch of money from a safe. And, you know, thankfully the guy's doing okay, but, you know, it's still under investigation now from the robbery squad. And an arrest hasn't been made on that. So, you know, what we're doing is, like, I told him, I'm like, you know, is there anybody that you work with that you can't trust, that, or like, will say something, because it was a setup. And thankfully the man is okay. And
Yeah.
I went to go check on him in the hospital, make sure if he needed any services or anything, and he was okay.
Yeah. Officer Peralta, Tracy has a question.
The moped robberies, the cell phone robberies, are we seeing any repeats of certain intersections or certain streets where they're localized? If we notice more particularly, it's like up and down Audubon, no Audubon slander, but you know what I'm saying? Like, what patterns, if any, are you seeing?
Yeah, so they're basically, I see that they're going to, like, it's somewhere new all the time. So they're going mostly to areas where there's not a lot of people. So I've seen that they went to around Beek and Payson over there. They've been around there. They've been around Audubon and, like,
Audubon and 190th.
yeah. Yes.
That's the raceway.
Yes, they go around there. And also, you know, we have a Fort George Hill where
Right.
they try to do that around there as well, because they know we don't have cameras there. So they kind of know where they're going. So that way, you know, if they know that there's not cameras in the area, they'll try to do it in those areas. But the main one is Fort George Hill.
Kristen.
You have a second question? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just like, no, that's good to know, just in terms of just the general public that likes to sort of stick to more populous spaces versus isolated areas, just as a sort of rule of thumb. Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you, officer. Can you give us any detail on the murder case from the last month?
Sure. So it was a guy, they knew each other. And they had gotten into an argument. I saw a quick video of it. The guy, when he went across the street to go talk to the guy, ended up stabbing him. The victim gets up, walks to Thayer Avenue and collapses right then and there and passes away. So it's like the guy stabbed him and immediately walked away, and probably thinking that, you know, the victim was okay. And well, he didn't even check, but I guess since he got up and walked down the block, I think he might have thought he was okay, but he didn't make it and he died on scene. And so we got video and they investigated right away and they arrested the perpetrator that did that.
Thank you. It's very sad.
Yeah, there was a Nagel and Thayer.
Tragic.
Yes.
Last month, Officer Taveras
Yes.
mentioned that the 34 was getting new staff or
Yes.
new police officers. Did they get him, and how many did they get?
Yes, we did get about, I would say 20, I think it's like 28 of them. And
28 recruits?
yes, we did get
That's good.
yes, they have been out there, you know, in our areas where the clubs are at, because that's where a lot of fights happen and, you know, more crime and more crowds. So we do have them standing out there where the clubs are at mainly.
So what's the head count right now? Did we reach out 200 yet?
For,
Police officers in the 34th?
oh no, no. People are leaving, and no, yeah, I wouldn't say it's 200. It's like every day, like, you know, because remember the new guys that we get, we don't keep them here. They get sent to other precincts once their time is up doing the field training.
Oh.
Yeah, so once they're done with the field training unit that they have to stand on the footpost here in 3-4, after that they get sent to different precincts. So we never keep them. We just keep on getting new officers that come out of the academy.
So we're just a training ground.
Yes, is that unique to the 34th? That
It should be in every precinct. Well, I mean, I could speak for my precinct that we never keep the new guys. Some of them go to other precincts and some of them stay here.
understood. So essentially the same is true of other precincts, and you would be getting an influx from other precincts of new folks who are doing that process there. Is that
Especially here in the 3-4, if they come here, it's to help us, you know, with the clubs and the crime that we have here and, you know, on their foot posts. But then, you know, we might keep 5 out of the 20 that came here. You understand?
Yeah.
So it's like if we get 20 new officers here, when they're done doing their time on the field training time, we'll keep like 5 or 6. We never know how much are gonna stay here, and then the rest go to different precincts.
okay? But my question is, are there other people doing field training in other precincts who then get sent to the 34th, or is the
No.
34th sort of uniquely asked to do this
Right.
training process?
Yeah, no, we haven't seen that where other officers from other precincts get sent here.
And why is it that the 34th is asked to take this responsibility?
No, well, I don't know if they're asked to do that. They just send us majority of the new people that come out of the academy because we're such a big precinct with all these clubs. But you
Got
know,
it.
they can't be on that foot post forever. You know, they eventually go to patrol after a few months, and they just don't stay here on patrol. I've seen them going to other precincts, and so that's when we get a whole new other batch from the academy when they
Got it.
graduate.
I understand. Thank you.
Before it used to be the opposite, that we used to get most officers from the 3-3. But now I guess it changed.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so thank you. Are there any other questions before we move on to whatever's next, which is to call the meeting to order?
To adjourn the meeting?
Kind of.
The opposite.
The opposite. Do we have any other comments or questions to the Officer Peralta? No. Okay. Our regards to the new CEO who haven't been honored and privileged enough to know him in the CB12. So send him our regards.
Okay, will do. We also have a community council meeting coming up. The date is just unknown for now. I'm gonna try to set that date tomorrow, hopefully. So I will, if anybody wants to attend, I'll be sending that out there.
Yeah, send it to
I
the
will-
office.
I will-
And then,
Yeah, I
No.
can send it to your office, and we usually send it to Miss Manaya.
yeah.
Yeah, and we usually post signs here. So once I get that date for this month, yeah, I can let you guys know.
And thank you for making the effort to be here today. I know that it wasn't really your job to, but you volunteered.
Yeah.
And I know you did.
I
So thank you. So thank you for the effort. So unless we have anything else that we want to discuss, I would like to call the meeting to adjourn.
There you go.
Seconded? We all seconded? Thank you.
Second.
Great night. Tanisha,
Thank you.
you killed it with that presentation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
I'm here for it. We'll see who else we can get on here to present to us about different things that involve public safety.
But as far as I'm concerned, bring her back every month.
She was brave.
Yes, so let's talk about a resolution next time or something to like,
Yes,
support
yes,
more
support.
services for mental health, or Jocelyn's bill. I think it's the good time to push Kathy because election season is coming up for her. Side note.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.